Thank you all so much for coming to my recital this evening. I am really excited to share with you this program. Three totally different pieces, but all of them telling a unique story. The first piece on the program is Swan Lake. You might not recognize it by its name, but I guarantee you've heard of it somewhere. Swan Lake tells the story of a young princess, Odette, as she encounters an evil sorcerer who turns her into a swan. Cursed by day in the body of a swan, regaining her human form at night. Meanwhile, Prince Siegfried is tasked with finding a wife, and when overcome with this idea, he decided to go hunting. On a moonlit night, he encounters a magnificent flock of swans down by the lake. In awe, he aims his crossbow at one of the swans when all of a sudden it transforms into a beautiful woman, Odette. Odette explains to Prince Siegfried that this curse can only be broken if a man promises his love to her and remains truthful to that vow. Siegfried immediately declares his love for Odette and desires to marry her, but things are never just that easy. At the ball that evening, the prince is eagerly awaiting to see his beloved Odette, but suddenly the sorcerer arrives, enters the ballroom with his daughter, Odile, and he has transformed her into a semblance of Odette. The prince is elated, thinking that his beloved has arrived, and dances with her. After the dance, the prince mistakenly declares his love for Odile, and just as he makes that final oath of his love, the sorcerer reveals her true identity. Frantic, the prince flees the castle in search for Odette, and when he finds her by the lake, tells her what had happened, and realizes that her hopes for love's freedom has vanished, condemning her to remain a swan forever. Destined to stay together forever, the two of them plunge themselves into the lake. However, their steadfast love breaks the curse as true love conquers evil. Now, the mournful melody that the oboe plays, that Tchaikovsky gave the oboe in the original orchestral ballet, embodies the dark romance of this story. The original premiere in 1877 actually tanked, but thankfully, many years after, they started using the theme in movies, and it gained popularity, which is why you've probably heard it today. So here is an arrangement I did of Swan Lake. next piece of this evening is Chrysalis by Alyssa Morris. Now, Alyssa Morris is an award-winning oboist and composer who has written some of the most imaginative works in the oboe repertoire. Really difficult because she's an oboist herself. Chrysalis is the musical analogy of a caterpillar and its metamorphosis into a butterfly. But within that is another message, which is one's ability to become spiritually changed. The first movement introduces the caterpillar theme, a squirmy and groovy little melody that will transform throughout the piece. In movement 2, the caterpillar struggles to find its way, but within the darkness of the chrysalis, the caterpillar gains strength to become something more. The caterpillar changes within the chrysalis just as one can experience a spiritual rebirth through Christ's great gift. In the final movement of the piece, the butterfly emerges. The theme is transformed, and the butterfly sings praises to God who gave it wings to fly. The hymn, All Creatures of Our God and King, is quoted in this beautiful conclusion of Chrysalis by Alyssa Morris. perform a solo every year, so I figured I should challenge myself by doing the same. So I started doing these recitals last year, and I absolutely love it. I love performing at this church, and I love having people from both my current life and my past and schooling and everything. It really means a lot to me. I love music, and glad to share it with all of you guys tonight here. There will be a little reception in the lobby afterwards. I hope you like Rice Krispie treats. I made 4 different kinds. They're all delicious. Can't go wrong. So let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, so the first 2 pieces, obviously I give you a little backstory on what the story is. This one is a little more self-explanatory because the story is told along with the music. It's great. So Peter and the Wolf, many of you have probably heard this before, but in 1935, Prokofiev, his wife and his children, all attended a performance of the Moscow Children's Theater of an opera called The Tale of the Fisherman and the Goldfish. His family loved it so much that they quickly became regulars of the theater. And spotting an opportunity, the theater's director suggested to him that he compose a piece of music for the children that told a story while also introducing to them members of the orchestra. Prokofiev took the suggestion by heart, and it only took a few days for him to turn out the entire piece from the music to the story, everything. Today, it's one of his most widely known compositions, so chances are you'll probably hear a little bit of it. This was originally written for orchestra, but this is an arrangement for woodwind quintet. Now, you might notice this is not your traditional woodwind quintet. Unfortunately, our bassoonist was unable to perform here tonight, so in a heroic effort, Mike was able to come in and play the bassoon part on bass clarinet tonight. Yes, so thank you guys again, and without further ado, I'll hand it over to our narrator so we can play Peter and the Wolf.
This is the story of Peter and the Wolf. If you listen carefully, you'll hear that each character in this story is represented by a different instrument in the woodwind quintet. For instance, the bird by the flute. The duck by the oboe. The cat by the clarinet. The grandfather by the bass clarinet. wolf, played by the three lowest members of the quintet, led by the horn. Early one morning, Peter opened the gate and went out to a big green meadow. On the branch of a big tree sat a little bird, Peter's friend. "All is quiet," chirped the bird gaily. Soon a duck came waddling around. She was glad that Peter had not closed the gate and decided to take a nice swim in the deep pond in the meadow. Seeing the duck, the little bird flew down upon the grass, settled next to the duck, and shrugged her shoulders. "What kind of bird are you if you can't fly?" she said. To this the duck replied, "What kind of bird are you if you can't swim?" and dived into the pond. Suddenly, something caught Peter's attention. He noticed a cat crawling through the grass. The cat thought, "The bird is busy arguing. I'll just grab her." Stealthily, she crept toward her on her velvet paws. "Look out!" shouted Peter, and the bird immediately flew up into the tree. While the duck quacked angrily at the cat. From the middle of the pond, the cat crawled around the tree and thought, "Is it worth climbing up so high? By the time I get there, the bird will have flown away." Grandpa came out. He was angry because Peter had gone to the meadow. It is a dangerous place. If a wolf would come out of the forest, then what would you do? Peter paid no attention to grandfather's words. Boys as he are not afraid of wolves. grandfather took Peter by the hand, led him home, and locked the gate. No sooner had Peter gone than a big gray wolf came out of the forest. In a twinkling, the cat climbed up the tree. The duck quacked, and in her excitement, jumped out of the pond. But no matter how hard the duck tried to run, she couldn't escape the wolf. He was getting nearer, nearer, nearer. Catching up with her. And then he got her, and with one gulp, swallowed her. And now, this is how things stood. The cat was sitting on one branch. The bird on another. Not too close to the cat. And the wolf walked around and around the tree, looking at them with greedy eyes. In the meantime, Peter, without the slightest fear, stood behind the closed gate watching all that was going on. Peter ran home, took a strong rope, and climbed up the high stone wall. One of the branches of the tree around which the wolf was walking stretched out over the wall. Grabbing hold of the branch, Peter lightly climbed over onto the tree. Peter said to the bird, "Fly down and circle around the wolf's head. Only take care that he doesn't catch you." The bird almost touched the wolf's head with her wings, while the wolf snapped angrily at her from this side and that. How the bird did worry, how he wanted to catch her. But the bird was very clever, and the wolf simply couldn't do anything about it. Meanwhile, Peter made a lasso and, carefully letting it down, caught the wolf by the tail and pulled with all his might. Feeling himself caught, the wolf began to jump wildly, trying to get loose. But Peter tied the other end of the rope to the tree. And the wolf's jumping only made the rope around his tail tighter. Just then, the hunters came out of the woods. following the wolf's trail and shooting as they went. But Peter, sitting in the tree, said, "Don't shoot! Birdie and I have already caught the wolf. Now, help us take him to the zoo." And there, imagine the triumphant procession. Peter at the head, after Peter, the hunters leading the wolf. and winding up the procession, Grandfather and the cat. Grandfather tossed his head discontentedly. Well, and if Peter hadn't caught the wolf, what then? Above them flew Birdie, chirping merrily. My, what fine ones we are, Peter and I. Look what we have caught. And if one would listen very carefully, he could hear the duck quacking in the wolf's belly. Because the wolf, in his haste, had swallowed her alive.
I guarantee one of those songs will be stuck in your head tonight.
Yeah.
And that's it. The lights aren't on, but we're done.